Hello, friends of the World's Way Out Project. React Today is part of the World's Way Out Project. We salute you with the spirit of the Winter Olympic Games at Pyeongchang in Korea or South Korea. Also, because it's 14th of February, the Saint Valentines Day. I wish you guys the best, and I hope you guys enjoy this day with the loved ones, and so you can share and receive the love from all the people that are around you, that surrounds you, whether they're far away or near. So, welcome to the show. When it comes to celebrations like today's one, there's pretty good news. The Europeans are taking over. It was expected, of course, at Pyeongchang. Canada finds right mix for medals. The Canadian press has said that gold in curling to go with luge and short track bronze. John Morris, Kathleen Lois, and Alex Gare made Canadian Winter Games history on Tuesday. Morris and Lois downed defending world champions Jenny Perret and Martin Rios of Switzerland 10-3 in 6 ends to capture the first ever mixed curling gold medal. Gare secured Canada's first Olympic medal in luge, finishing third in the women's singles final. Short track speed skater Kim Boutin claimed Canada's other medal at the Pyeongchang Winter Games, a bronze in the women's 500-meter race. Boutin actually finished fourth, but was bumped up to third after South Korea's Myeong Choi was disqualified. Boutin was the target of nasty messages and even death threats on social media after the controversial decision. Radio Canada reported that thousands of angry messages were directed at Boutin. The Canadian women's hockey team also earned its second straight win, a 4-1 decision over Finland. Up next is a showdown Thursday with the arch-rival Americans, who dispatched the Russian entry 5-0. Morris of Ottawa and Lois of Winnipeg both claimed their second Olympic gold medals. Morris was vice for Kevin Martin when they took the men's team title in 2010, while Lois was third for the Jennifer Jones team that won women's team gold in 2014. It feels fantastic, said Morris. It's an amazing feeling winning the gold medal. I'm really proud of us, of coming here and putting mixed doubles on the map. Yes. So yes, things are going right for Canadians. Veteran racer Marianne Saint-Gelais competing in her final games failed to make it out of the quarterfinals after receiving a penalty for impeding. The Canadian was also penalized for a false start. So yeah, Canada is doing just fine. Let's go Canada. Go Canada, go Canada. Okay, in other aspects of the world's realities, police have said that Netanyahu should face corruption charges, according to the Associated Press. Israeli police on Tuesday recommended that Benjamin Netanyahu be indicted on bribery and breach of trust charges in a pair of corruption cases, dealing an embarrassing blow to an embattled prime minister that is likely to fuel calls for him to step down. Netanyahu angrily rejected the accusations, which included accepting nearly $300,000 in gifts from a pair of billionaires. He accused police of being on a witch hunt and vowed to remain in office and even seek re-election. I will continue to lead the state of Israel responsibly and logically as long as you, the citizens of Israel, choose me to lead you, unquote. An ashen-faced Netanyahu said in a televised address that I am sure that the truth will come to light, and I am sure that also in the next elections that will take place on time, I will win your trust again with God's help. The recommendations marked a dramatic ending to a more than year-long investigation into allegations that Netanyahu accepted gifts from Hollywood mogul Arnon Milchan and Australian billionaire James Packer, and suspicions that he offered to give preferential treatment to a newspaper publisher in exchange for favorable coverage. Former Prime Minister Ehud Barak a bitter rival of Netanyahu, called on him to suspend himself and for the coalition to appoint a replacement on Wednesday morning. The depth of corruption is horrifying, Barak said. This does not look like nothing. This looks like bribery, he ended up saying. On the other hand, we have known today that for a second consecutive year, President Donald Trump is trying to drastically reduce or eliminate federal support of cleanups for iconic U.S. waterways, including the Great Lakes and Chesapeake Bay. Trump's proposed 2019 budget for the Environment and Protection Agency released Monday would cut funding by 90% for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, an Obama-era plan for dealing with pervasive pollution in the world's biggest surface freshwater system, and a similar program for Chesapeake Bay, the nation's largest estuary. The Great Lakes program is the largest, taking in about $300 million annually since it was established in 2010. But Trump's budget will give it $30 million. Chesapeake Bay, which is getting nearly $73 million, will receive only $7.3 million. Supporters pledge to fight to keep them intact. Donald Trump, guys, it's never in favor of anything that has to do with environment or waterways or anything that has to do for the well-being of nature, for the common wealth of the people. I don't know what's going on with this guy when it comes to protect the water. Maybe it doesn't mean that if he reduces the budget, necessarily everything's going to go bad. But 90%, wow, that's too crazy. But nothing about this person makes sense anyway. On the other hand, we can say that judge rules against Donald Trump's in Dreamers case. Donald Trump's administration didn't offer legally adequate reasons for ending a program that spared many young immigrants from deportation if they were brought to the United States as children, a judge ruled Tuesday as he ordered the program to continue. The United States District Judge Nicholas G. Garaufis in Brooklyn said in a written order that the president indisputably has the power to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, but relied on flawed legal positions in doing so. The Trump administration should be able to alter the politics and priorities set by its predecessor, Garaufis said. He said his order does not require the government to grant any particular DACA or DACA applications or renewal requests. Justice Department spokesman Devin O'Malley said the order doesn't change the government's position that DACA was an unlawful circumvention of Congress. Garaufis said the decisions to end the program appeared to rest exclusively on a legal conclusion that the program was unconstitutional and violated the APA or IPA and the Immigration and Nationality Act. Because that conclusion, I quote, was erroneous, the decision to end the DACA program cannot stand, said the judge. Around the world, things are looking the same. Donald Trump, as always, doesn't have many friends, and it wants to take unilateral decisions when it comes to important issues that affect humanity or global issues. So he's taking some backlash from around the world. On the other hand, Syria conflict, Russians killed in United States airstrike. That's pretty bad news. At least 2 Russian fighters were killed in United States airstrikes in northeastern Syria last week, their associates have told the BBC. The mercenaries are said to have been hired by a private military firms backing Syrian pro-government troops. Russia has not confirmed the deaths that were first reported by the United States media, saying such reports should not be treated as primary sources. The United States says it killed more than 100 fighters in the strike last week. But Defense Secretary Jim Mattis insisted that despite the media reports, he did not have information that Russian contractors were among the casualties. I can't give you anything on that. We have not received that word at Central Command or the Pentagon, he said. Why is there a war in Syria? What happened in the U.S. strikes? United States officials say hundreds of fighters aligned with with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, attacked positions of the United States-backed Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF) near the town of Kursham in the Deir al-Zawr province. They crossed the Euphrates River, shelling an SDF base where American advisors were present, and of course, other sources say they were trained there. In order to combat President Bashar al-Assad's legitimate position as president, the United States responded with an air and artillery strikes on 7 February, thwarting the attack and forcing the pro-Assad fighters to retreat, the United States officials said. Syrian state media have reported that the strikes left dozens killed, accusing the United States of a brutal massacre. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry says that Syrian government-backed troops were hit as they launched an operation against fighters from the Islamic State ISIS group. Russia also denies having personnel in the area. The strikes happened in the Middle Euphrates Valley, which serves as an informal demarcation line in eastern Syria. The government controls the western side and the SDF the east. The two sides have clashed over the past year while trying to drive Islamic State militants from their last major stronghold in the country. But what about the Russian mercenaries? Quoting a Pentagon official, CBS News first reported on 8 February that Russian mercenaries were among pro-regime forces that attacked the SDF base. If Russians are among those who were killed, this will mark the first time as United States airstrike has killed Russians in Syria, CBS News' David Martin reported. More details about those killed in the strikes began to emerge in the following days. On Tuesday, associates of 2 Russian fighters confirmed to the BBC that they were killed on February the 7th. The associates named the dead as Vladimir Lokhinov, a Cossack from Russia, Western Kaliningrad region, and Kirill Anajev, a radical nationalist from Moscow. Some media reports suggest that dozens of Russian fighters could have been killed. They are believed to have been employed by a private Russian company called Wagner. The firm has not commented on the reports. But things are getting worse. On Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin's spokesman declined to provide any details. But he said, "We have details of servicemen of the Russian armed forces who are taking part in the Russian military operation in support of the Syrian army." Dmitry Peskov said, "We don't have information about other Russians who might be in Syria. I advise you to contact the defense ministry," he ended up saying. And reporting to a further BBC question, the spokesman said, "And of course, you had to realize that many countries of the world have quite large numbers of our compatriots, of Russians, and of course, it's difficult to have detailed data. We recommend not treating media reports as primary sources," he added. Moscow launched a military operation in Syria in support of President Assad on 30 September 2015. More than 45 Russian military personnel have been officially confirmed killed since then. An unknown number of private military contractors have also died. Earlier this month, a Russian Sukhoi 25 ground-attacked aircraft was shot down in a rebel-held area in Syria, northwestern province of Idlib. The pilot survived the initial attack and ejected, but died in a ground fight, detonating his grenade to avoid being captured, according to the sources. So as we can see, friends, of React today, there's not good news when it comes to another Cold War in order to protect the interests of Russians and American interests. Things are going, as always, nothing but trouble. Yeah, so things are not looking beautiful. But it's Valentine's Day. We're going to try to keep a positive action, a positive attitude today. And of course, because of the spirit of the Winter Olympics, that go Canada, go. Kick some butt out there. In the other side of the world, in Latin America, Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro is not welcome in Peru. Peruvian President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski had said that Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro is not welcome at the regional summit to be held in Peruvian capital Lima in April. Just last week, Venezuelan officials had confirmed that President Maduro would attend the summit, but Mr. Kuczynski cited a rupture in the democratic order.